Hi, so today I'm going to talk about my genetic disorder. It's called Usher Syndrome. I have technically had it since I was born, but I did not find out about it until 2 days after I turned 18. Usher Syndrome is the leading cause of deaf blindness in the entire world, and it's a very, very rare disorder to have. Both parents have to have a recessive trait in them, and it has to be the same recessive trait. And so if they both have that recessive trait, you have a 25% chance of having Usher syndrome, which is what I have. You have a 50% chance of being a carrier, but not having the symptoms and not having the disorder present itself. You're just a carrier. And then you also have 25% of not being affected, not being a carrier, not having it at all. It's not in your genes. And we found out 2 days after I turned 18, and basically Usher syndrome, there are 3 different types, and there's subsets that go along with the types. So type 1A, 1B, and then more with that, and then type 2, which is the type I have type 2A, and there's 2A, 2B, etc., and then type 3. So personally, I think I have the least severe type of Usher syndrome, and I know people are not going to agree with me about it, but that is totally fine. I'm just telling my perspective of it. You can have your own perspective also. And so I was born with severe to moderate hearing loss. I wear 2 hearing aids for both of my ears, and I've worn them since I was a year old, and I was in speech therapy since I was really young, and I worked very hard to get my speech to what it is today. And so in my type, I started noticing problems when I was probably 15. And I was just my whole family even noticed. I would walk out from the hallway in our house and I would fall over my dog. And later we found out my bottom peripherals were disappearing, so we were like, that makes a lot of sense. But originally it was just Robin, you need to pay attention, don't walk on your phone. We never, as I said, I was born with hearing loss, never knew why. I asked to get my genetics tested when I was about 13. As I said, I was born with hearing loss, never knew why. I asked to get my genetics tested when I was about 13. And my mom, she was being a mom, she was like, no, you don't need to get your genetics tested. Your hearing's never gotten worse, which it really hasn't. It's been stable since I was born. My hearing test proved that. So it's been stable across my whole life, and I'm 20 right now. So that's pretty cool. And she was just like, there's no reason, just wait until you're ready to have kids. And I accepted it. I wasn't really okay with it, but I also understood I was 13, 14, I had other things I needed to worry about. I was playing sports full time, going to school, and that was just the end of it. And then as I got older and more into high school, I was it bothered me, and I wanted to know why. And I was just I don't get it. Why am I the way I am? And why do no one else in my family has hearing loss? So I talked to my mom, and I was a senior in high school, and we kind of talked more about it. And eventually, in the spring of my senior year, I was still 17. She was like, "Do you want to go get your genetics tested?" And I said, "Yeah." So her and my dad took me, and that was in the spring. So then I turned 18 in July. I turned 18 on a Wednesday. And on Friday, 2 days after I turned 18, my mom got I remember it so clearly. I was sitting in the living room. I was sitting on the couch just watching TV. I wasn't doing anything. And my mom gets this phone call, and she's on the phone for a really long time. So I'm maybe it's just a client, whatever. And I wasn't paying attention to the caller ID. And eventually she comes in, and she's she just seems different, and she's so the geneticist called. And I was like, oh, okay, let me guess. They found nothing. That's usually my luck. Like, there's nothing wrong with me. It's just a freak thing. And it turned out to be Usher Syndrome. And, like, the way my mom said it was, and we found out why you have hearing loss, and it explains why you're seeing the things you're seeing or not seeing. Because I'm really nearsighted, which has absolutely nothing to do with the Usher syndrome. So I wear contacts, and people are like, oh, does that help? No, people, it does not help. Just saying, just to clarify, it does not help. It helps with something else. I just don't have good vision in general. And so that was really like when I found out. So I know there's going to be a lot of questions probably, and I'm hoping I can hit most of them. If I don't, then just comment, or if you have my number, or if you're friends with me on Facebook or something, just message me, comment, and I will try to answer them. How many people have it? About 50,000 people in the nation have it. In the world, I don't have that statistic. If you guys want me to look it up, I will. Just let me know. So, a really big question I get a lot is, what can I see? So, like, besides the tunnel vision, like, so I'm just going to show y'all because it's going to be easier. So, I used to be able to see about right here. And now I can see my fingers, like, I'm by my window and I can see the light color changing, like I can see my fingers wiggling, and like, that's pretty cool. Like, not just with one eye, but I'm also going to show you guys my scans, which, yeah. So this is my left eye I'm going to show you. So I got diagnosed in 2014. This is a scan from 2015. And all the gray and the black is not good. Like, you don't want that there. There's this one little black spot. That's my optic nerve. That's supposed to be there. So, that's not good. And this is my left eye. And then the last scan I had was back this year in September. It's 2016. And look. So, I gained a ton of vision back. And I will go into that in just a minute, and I will try to explain it as best as I can. But, woo, yeah. So, my central vision's fine. It's that simple. And then this is my right eye. So, this was back a year after I got diagnosed. Black's really bad. That's my nerve right there. And this one is from this last September in 2016. So I still have black and gray like in both of my eyes, but in general I can see about 100 degrees. And I was at like 80 degrees last, I think, before this appointment, and so I gained about 20 degrees back in 6 months. And so every 6 months I have to go in, I have to do a visual field test, which, if you don't know what a visual field test is, you thank God. So, visual field test. It's this big machine thing. You stick your head in, and like and they have to do it in a dark room. So obviously, like, I do so well in dark places. And so you put your head, like, you put your chin on this little chin rest thing, and you have this clicker, and so all these little white dots, and some of them are really bright, some of them are really, really dim, and they go all through the visual field. And so it's literally like this much, like 180 degrees. It's the longest, just, oh, it sucks. I hate it. But if I don't do it, I don't get to see what I'm seeing, and it's just like whenever you think you see a light, click the thing, and that's all you do. But it's like a 10-minute test or like a 9-minute test for each eye, and it's just bad. So I'm gonna get asked probably why my vision got better. The only reason we can think of is that I got put on a bunch of supplements. These are my 3 supplements, along with other random things, like little things I take, vitamins every day. So I'm going to tell you guys, this is lutein, I don't know how you say it however you want to say it. I take 20 milligrams of this every day. And then, this is my omega-3 fish oil. It's like 2,000 milligrams every single day. It makes your hair really oily, just so you know. And then the big one, it's the littlest pill of them all, vitamin A. 15,000 milligram dose every single day. You're not supposed to take that much, but you're not supposed to take that big of a dose of it unless you're being monitored. And so I have to go in and get blood work every 6 months to make sure that my liver's not going to fail because of the big dose of vitamin A. And so I know there are a lot of people out there whose vision has not gotten better, and it's just gotten worse. And I feel so much for you, because a year ago I was here and I was petrified. I was like, I know other people with type 2 that are 70 and they can still see like 50 or 60 degrees, and I'm like, why am I at like 40? And it just, like, I get it. I promise I understand. I am just telling my story. I don't want anyone to be mad about it. Just hope that we can figure something out that will help you guys that do have worse vision than I do. Oh, the big one. How have friends and family been since your diagnosis, and like, were they supportive? So I would say my mom and my sister probably took the diagnosis the hardest, because they probably just like can't imagine living with it. And like, people deal with things so differently. Everybody deals with things differently. Like, we all grieve differently. It's just how we are. It's how we're made. And me and my mom fought a lot after it, because I was partially mad at her for me asking like so many years ago about, can I get my genetics tested? We could have kind of prevented some of the vision loss, in my opinion. Now I know, like, nobody knows. There's no cure, no treatment, no, like, nothing. So I've gotten over being mad at her. I'm sorry, Mom. My sister took it really hard, because she was just like, I can't believe this is happening to my sister. Like, this is not fair. But life's not fair. It happens. She's gotten a lot better. Like, she gets really excited. I think she did like a full like paper about genetic stuff, and like she had me in it. And I think like for one of her college essays, she wrote about me and like how I'm an inspiration. I know about that. And so my dad, I don't know, like, he just kind of took it like he takes everything else that happens. Like, we just pester each other, we joke, like, we pick on each other, like, that's just, it's how we are, and it's that simple. My friends, oh, my friends. So, basically, I kind of told my friends, like, what was going on, and I told them that I got diagnosed, and, like, honestly, they didn't know what to say. Which, what do you say to your friend that's being told she's going blind? Yeah. So, my friends, they were totally there for me, like, 100% they were there for me, but there were things they couldn't quite understand, and I didn't feel like explaining them at the time. And I basically just kind of like shut myself off for the rest of summer, because I was leaving like the very end of August, and so I found out, and like that next week I kind of just like shut everyone off, and like, I don't know, that was just how I took it. And with my personality, I'm a very private person, and I deal with things very privately. It's just who I am. And some of you may think that's wrong. That's okay. We all deal with things differently, like I said. How did I feel when I was diagnosed? Is it hard to diagnose? So those are like kind of two in the same. How did I feel? I was pissed. Downright, I was so mad. I was like, this is stupid. Like, I just wanted to know my hearing loss. I didn't want this other stuff. But now I'm really glad I did it, because I figured out that, like, I figured out what was wrong. And that's all I can ask for. That's all I can really be thankful for. So I was really angry at first, but I've had a decent amount of time to cope with it and just accept it, and it took me a long time to accept it. And I said I accepted it, but like I didn't really do it, you know, like just on the outside you're like, whatever, I got this. But then like on the inside you're just like, really? And then is it hard to diagnose? At birth for like type 1, you can see it. They have vestibular problems, so like everything's a little off. Type 3, they're born normal, completely normal. They can hear, they can see, completely normal. And then later, like I want to say when they're like 10 or so, when they're younger than what I was for my type, they like start having the problems. But my type is the hardest probably to diagnose because we don't start having those problems till we're a lot older. And that we usually start getting affected in adolescence. That's when my type starts getting affected. And it's really like, it's just about acceptance. You can't change it, but you can move forward, you can share your story, you can try to get awareness out about it, and that's all you can do. Like, I love to work out. I'm a really active person, so I work out a lot, and I mean, that really does help relieve stress, regardless if you believe that or not. And I know, like, going to the gym when you cannot see things is petrifying. Like, I'll walk in and my eyes won't adjust yet, and so I'll be walking, and I walk in really slow. I scan my little thing to get in, and I'll be walking, and I won't realize someone has moved, like, a bench they were using, and I'll run into it, and I'm just like, really? And there's, like, nobody around it, and I'm like, put your stuff up. It is not that difficult. This should be an open path. But it sucks and it hurts, and I am bruised all over just because of how much I run into all the time. And I will tell you, a lot of people with Usher Syndrome are bruised all over as well because they run into everything. I currently, I do not use a blind cane. I do in Texas qualify for handicap parking, which I got that last year at college because I kept tripping in the parking lots, and like I would even be looking down and there would just be like a weird lip and I would trip and fall, and it was stupid. So I got handicap parking, and so I always get the dirtiest looks whenever I'm like, oh, I gotta run into the library, which handicap parking is right by the library at my school, and I'll get out and like I'm not in a wheelchair, I'm not visibly disabled, and I get the meanest looks ever. Oh my god. And like, not all handicaps are visible. I do not know how to make that a different point. Another question I get is, what do I do like when I have bad days? There's not really a straight answer. It's kind of like how I cope. It just happens. Bad days happen. Bad days happen to everybody, not just me. Y'all are probably going to wonder, if you don't have Usher Syndrome, you're probably going to wonder how we all found each other. And there's actually an Usher Syndrome coalition. They basically put together these awesome conferences that combine all these people, all their service dogs, all their blind canes, their family, everybody that comes with them, and it's really cool. It's a lot of work, so props to everyone that puts that together and the speakers. And they have people come and speak about like the research that's getting done. They have these panels where you can ask questions to people who have Usher Syndrome. And we're all different ages. We are a huge variety of ages. We range from just born all the way to probably like 100 years old. I have a friend, Claire. She's at Sanford. Danae? Yeah. She lives in Mississippi. We talk a lot. She's wonderful. She can still see. She has my same type. I know Rebecca Alexander. I haven't actually personally met her, but she has a book about Usher Syndrome. Rebecca Alexander's book, Not Fade Away. It's great. You guys should read it. She's hilarious. My eyes are bright blue. Like, I don't know if y'all want to know that or not. That's cool. I thought of another question that I'm sure will get asked at some point. Do I drive at night? Yes. I have headlights. I don't drive very often at night just because, like, if I really don't have to, I try not to. Like, I'll go, like, out to eat with one of my friends when it's like 5 minutes away and the road is very well lit. Like, I live in the big city. It's gonna be well lit.